Hare Krishna. Does anyone need a sheet? You have a sheet. You know? Chad, I think this gentleman needs a sheet.
It's nice to study.
Huh?
It's nice to study.
Yeah. You'll be able to sing along. Oh, the paint? Go ahead, go ahead. Go ahead. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunjabi Hari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunjabi Hari Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivaradhari Jaya Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivaradhari Yashodanandana Braja Jana Ranjana Yashodanandana Braja Jana Ranjana Yamuna Tira Vanachari Yamuna Tira Vanachari Chari Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunjabi Hari Jaya Vishnupad Paramahansa Parajaka Ashtotar to Sri Srimad His Divine Grace Srila A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada Ki Jai ISKCON BBT Founder Acharya Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai Jayom Vishnupad Paramahansa Paravajakacharya Ashtotar to Sri Srimad Divine Grace Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur Ki Jai Ananta Koti Vaishnavinda Ki Jai Namacharya Srila Haridas Thakur Ki Jai Srimad Bhagavad Gita Ki Jai Samaveda Bhaktivinda Ki Jai. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to Shri Guru and Gauranga. Okay. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. On this 10th day of March 2025 in San Diego, we're reading from Srimad Bhagavad Gita as it is, translation and commentary by His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada. And we are in chapter 1 entitled Observing the Armies on the Battlefield of Kurukshetra. Text number 43, page 59. Utsanna Kula Dharmanam Manushyanam Janardana Narake Niyatam Vaso Bhavatiti Anushushuma. Okay. Utsanna Kula Dharmanam Manushyanam Janardana Narake Niyatam Vaso Bhavati Yanushushuma. Utsanna Kula Dharmanam Manushyanam Janardana Narake Niyatam Vaso Bhavati Yanushushuma. Utsanna Kula Dharmanam Manushyanam Janardana Narake Niyatam Vaso Bhavati Yanushushuma. Sorry about that. Utsanna Kula Dharmanam Manushyanam Janardana Narake Niyatam Vaso Bhavati Yanushushuma. Utsanna Kula Dharmanam Manushyanam Janardana Narake Niyatam Vaso Bhavati Yanushushuma. Ladies? Utsanna Kula Dharmanam Manushyanam Janardana Narake Niyatam Vaso Bhavati Yanushushuma. Utsanna Kula Dharmanam Manushyanam Janardana Narake Niyatam Vaso Bhavati Yanushushuma. Anyone online? Okay. Utsanna spoiled Kula Dharmanam of those who have the family traditions. Manushyanam of such men, Janardana or Krishna, Narake in hell, Niyatam always, Vasaha residence, Bhavati, it so becomes, Iti, thus, Anushushuma, I have heard by disciplic succession. Translation. Arjuna says to Krishna, O Krishna, maintainer of the people, I have heard by disciplic succession that those whose family traditions are destroyed dwell always in hell. Purport. Arjuna bases his argument not on his own personal experience, but on what he has heard from the authorities. That is the way of receiving real knowledge. One cannot reach the real point of factual knowledge without being helped by the right person who is already established in that knowledge. There is a system in the Varnashram institution by which, before death, one has to undergo the process of atonement for his sinful activities. One who is always engaged in sinful activities must utilize the process of atonement called prayashchitta. Without doing so, one surely will be transferred to hellish planets to undergo miserable lives as the result of sinful activities. Om Jnana Timirandasya Jnanandana Shalakayat Chakshurunmilitam mena tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. I was born in the darkest of ignorance, but my spiritual master, Srila Prabhupada, opened my eyes with the torchlight of knowledge. I offer my humble obeisance unto him and all members of Sri Parampara. So this Arjuna is making his argument now why he shouldn't fight. And he's basing it really on concerns for his own destiny, by and large. His argument is that on both sides, because he had Krishna bring the chariot between the two armies so that he could see who was the army on the other side, who was going to be his enemy. And on the other side, he was shocked to find that there is, well, he knew, but to see it was very much shocking to him. There was Bhishma Dev, his beloved grandfather figure. Now I say a figure because he wasn't his real grandfather. Bhishma Dev, I won't get into all the details, he was a brahmachari. But he took the role of grandfather when the Pandava children were unexpectedly orphaned. Their father was killed in an accident in the forest. And so he helped to raise them, so he had a lot of affection for them. So he ended up on the other side because he needed to be supported. For financial reasons, he was fighting on the side of Duryodhana. And also his teacher, his martial guru. So Arjuna was very, very carefully trained in the martial arts of the time by Dronacharya. And he was also there. He was the commander-in-chief on the other side. And then besides that, there were all kinds of blood relatives and marriage relatives that he saw. His family was on the other side. I don't know, of course, on his own side, there were so many other friends and many others. So here he's seeing the result of this battle that he's fighting, even if he won, as he says, I don't think he said it yet, but in the next chapter, the beginning, it continues, that the spoils we will win will be soaked with the blood of the people we love. And so what's the point? I'm going to fight and fight and fight, win this wonderful kingdom, and then I'll be totally miserable. So better I go off and beg in the forest, you know. But that's not really practical. He doesn't get off the chariot and start walking, you know. He knows that that's... So eventually he ends up kind of paralyzed. He sits down on the chariot and says, Govinda, I shall not fight. But then he makes the big turn, as we'll see in the next chapter, I think text 10. He surrenders to Krishna as his guru, rather than just a friend. And he said the real relationship. And he asks him to please tell him what is his dharma, what is the right thing for him to do in this difficult situation. But now he's in the foreseeing all bad consequences, even if he wins the battle, and that's what this is all about. Those whose family traditions are destroyed always dwell in hell. What to speak of those who help to destroy the family traditions? That's the way the translation was at first before we revived it. So if you recall, he mentioned the offering, what is called the Shraddha ceremony, which is very familiar to us because Dharma Setu periodically does that here in the temple and also out in the field with the large Indian community we have. And Shraddha comes from the word Shraddha, which means faith. And it is an offering of prasadam and chanting of mantras for the departed relatives that you have, to help them to get free from their sinful reactions. Here it mentions this atonement, right? Atonement has to take place, prayaschitta. Now, atonement means, it's understood in Vedic culture that as we go through life, if we're not very strict in our activity, acting according to the Shastra or the scripture all the time, that we'll commit sinful activities, even unknowingly. The classic is you start a fire to cook something and there's some bugs in there, you know, and you just committed a sin. There's a poor living entity who's innocently trying to, you know, live. You're walking, I remember during the summer, or spring and summer, when I take my walks, I have to watch out if there's any bugs sneaking across the sidewalk, you know, inadvertently I'm going to crush them, you know. So that's the life of it. So therefore there's this process of atonement, You know, in the West we have the religion, you can atone for sins by confessing them and doing sacrifice. So there's this whole elaborate process of atonement for sins, so that you don't have to go to hell, and you don't have to, and you can, yes, take another birth, but you're not in hell. So that he's speaking about that here, and so it's he's, in other words, he's foreseeing all kinds of bad results of this battle. He doesn't see anything good coming from it. Text 44. Aho batamahat papam kartam vyavasitavayam yad rajas sukalobhena hantung swajanam udyataha. Alas, how strange it is that we are preparing to commit greatly sinful acts. Driven by the desire to enjoy royal happiness, we are intent on killing our own kinsmen. Purport. Driven by selfish motives, one may be inclined to such sinful acts as the killing of one's own brother, father, or mother. There are many such instances in the history of the world. But Arjuna, being a saintly devotee of the Lord, is always conscious of moral principles and therefore takes care to avoid such activities. Yadimam apatikaram ashastram shastrapananiya dhartarashravane hanyus tanmeche mataram bhavet. Better for me if the sons of Dhritarashtra, weapons in hand, were to kill me unarmed and unresisting on the battlefield. Purport. It is the custom, according to Kshatriya fighting principles, that an unarmed and unwilling foe should not be attacked. Arjuna, however, decided that even if attacked by the enemy in such an awkward position, he would not fight. He did not consider how much the other party was bent upon fighting. All these symptoms are due to soft-heartedness, resulting from his being a great devotee of the Lord. Sanjaya vacha eva muktvarjanak sankye, excuse me, Sanjaya vacha, oh, I did that. Eva muktvarjanak sankye vato pasta upabhishat visridya sashadam chapam shokasam vignamanasa. Sanjay said, Arjuna, having thus spoken on the battlefield, cast aside his bow and arrows and sat down on the chariot, his mind overwhelmed with grief. Purport. While observing the situation of his enemy, Arjuna stood up on the chariot, but he was so afflicted with lamentation that he sat down again, setting aside his bow and arrows. Such a kind and soft-hearted person in the devotional service of the Lord is fit to receive self-knowledge. Thus end the Bhaktivedanta purports to the first chapter of the Srimad Bhagavad Gita in the matter of observing the armies on the battlefield of Kurukshetra. Okay, now Krishna will begin his instruction in a few verses. Chapter 2, contents of the Gita summarized. Sanjaya vacha tang tata kripayavishtam ashrupurna kolekshanam Vishidantam midham vakyam uvacha madhusudanaha. Now, I think I may have messed up. We didn't have anyone chant any verses, did we? We did. Okay, I'm sorry. I'm just not all here today. Okay. Sanjay said, seeing Arjuna full of compassion, his mind depressed, his eyes full of tears, Madhusudana, Krishna, spoke the following words. Purport. Material compassion, lamentation, and tears are all signs of ignorance of the real self. Compassion for the eternal soul is self-realization. The word Madhusudana is significant in this verse. So this is his name. The name Madhusudana is significant in this verse. Lord Krishna killed the demon Madhu. And now Arjuna wanted Krishna to kill the demon of misunderstanding that had overtaken him in the discharge of his duty. No one knows where compassion should be applied. Compassion for the dress of a drowning man is senseless. Similarly, a man fallen in the ocean of nescience cannot be saved simply by rescuing his outward dress, his material body.
One who does not know this and laments for the outward dress is called a Shudra, or one who laments unnecessarily. Arjuna was a Kshatriya, and this conduct that he had just shown on the previous chapter was not expected from him. Lord Krishna, however, can dissipate the lamentation of the ignorant man, and for this purpose the Bhagavad Gita was sung by him. This chapter instructs us in self-realization by an analytical study of the material body and the spirit soul, as explained by the Supreme Authority, Lord Sri Krishna. This realization is possible when one works without attachment to fruitive results and is situated in the fixed conception of the real self. So all of this seen in the first chapter with Arjuna getting cold feet, to say the least, it was all engineered by Krishna so that the Gita could be spoken, you see. This whole Bhagavad Gita takes place on several levels. On one level, it's 18 chapters within the Mahabharata, and the context is that Krishna wants to see Dharma reinstituted in the world, in the person of these 5 Pandavas. Yudhishthira himself is the son of Dharmaraj, not this Dharmaraj, Dharmaraj Das, it's a name for Yamaraj, who is Dharma personified. He judges everyone according to their deeds, and he puts them in hell, or he sends them to heaven. So, and Krishna will say in the 4th chapter, this is one of the reasons why he comes to earth. We should realize how fortunate we are that Krishna came to this planet a mere 5,000 years ago. I always like to point out how infrequent that is that he comes. Once in a day time of Brahma. Once in a day of Brahma. Brahma's 12 hours are 4,240,000,000 years, or 420 million years long. That's 12 hours for Brahma. And his night is of the equal duration. So once every 8,640,000,000 years, Krishna appears on the earth. It's just been 5,000 years. It's like less than a snap of a finger, you know. So here we are sitting here, and what is his mission? He summarizes it very succinctly in the 4th chapter. He says this famous verse, which you probably learned as a child, Yad yadatadati shreshtas, tattadevetara, no. Yada yadahi dharmasya glani bhavati bharata abhyutanam hadharmasya tadatmanam sajamiham. Whenever and wherever there's an upsurge of irreligion in this world, yada dharmasya glani. Glani means violations of real dharma. And his adharma becomes ascendant, becomes very strong. At that time, I appear. And then what does he do? Very succinctly, Paritanaya sadhunam vinashayata duskaram dharma sangstapanartaya sambhavami yuge. Yuge, millennium after millennium, I appear in order to protect the devotees. That's the first thing. Paritanaya sadhunam. To destroy the evil forces in the world and to reestablish dharma. And this, speaking of Bhagavad Gita, is an essential part of doing that in the previous age, which is Dwapara Yuga, just before this age. This age is about 5,000 years old. So the progression of ages is a progression of adharma is coming more and more. And so Kali Yuga, the very name, it's the age of quarrel and war, isn't it? I remember, you know, all the years I've been on this planet, there's always been either a threatening war or war is happening, yeah, so that's this age. It's both locally, you know, the family and the community and the countries, so that's this age. So Krishna has come, and now this speaking of the Bhagavad Gita is essential because he's going to be, as he explains there in that same section where he says why he comes, is that the disciplic succession. That's so important. We mention that every class. Is that there's a succession of gurus and disciples, teachers and students, coming down all the way from Krishna. What is the essential knowledge that's being given? It's the knowledge of how to practice yoga. Practice yoga. Link up with the Supreme, purify our existence, and ultimately to return back to that spiritual world that we left many, 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 many billions of years ago. And a big mistake. That's what real Dharma is. And it becomes lost, as he says right there, is that due to the forces of time and things, it's become lost. People don't know. And without that essential knowledge, they're at the mercy of their own mad minds. And they're suffering like anything. So speaking of this Bhagavad Gita is part of Krishna's strategy, to leave the Bhagavad Gita in the hands of the teachers who can then pass it on and live it and show by example how to live it. And so that's what we're now encountering here. And in this chapter, Krishna will begin his instruction in the form of a guru, the original guru to Arjuna, and we're getting a chance to hear the same instruction. So first he chastises him. This is the charioteer's duty, to try to buck up the courage of the fighter. So he'll say, chastise him. And then again, when he starts his instruction, he also criticizes. All right, text 2. Shri Bhagavan Uvacha Kutastva Kṛṣṇa Vishame Samapastitam Anayajishtamasvargyam Akirti Kanamarjana. All right, so before we continue, I just wanted, part of my service, actually my whole service now for the last 5 years, has been going over mostly this Bhagavad Gita along with my co-editors in the Bhaktivedanta Book Trust editorial board, Nagaraj and Kaishori. They're also very experienced editors. And reviewing the Bhagavad Gita and revisions that have been made to it, and sometimes finding other revisions that need to be made. So I'm going to try to incorporate those when they come across, and if you need, I can explain why it's changed. So this verse has some, and purport has some important revisions, which I'll explain when we get to them. Okay. Translation. Supreme Personality of Godhead said, "My dear Arjuna, how have these impurities come upon you? They are not at all befitting a man who knows the spiritual values of life. They lead not to higher planets, but to infamy." Purport. Krishna and the Supreme Personality of Godhead are identical. Therefore, Lord Krishna is referred to as Bhagavan throughout the Gita. Bhagavan is the ultimate in the Absolute Truth. The Absolute Truth is realized in 3 phases of understanding, namely Brahman, or the impersonal or pervasive spirit, Paramatma, or the localized aspect of the Supreme within the heart of all living entities, and Bhagavan, or the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Lord Krishna. In the Srimad Bhagavatam 1-11, this conception of the Absolute Truth is explained thus. I'll say, you say, Vadanti tat tattvavidas tattvam yad jnanam advayam Brahmeti Paramatmeti Bhagavan iti shabdyate. The Absolute Truth is realized in 3 phases of understanding by the knower of the Absolute Truth, and all of them are identical. Such phases of the Absolute Truth are expressed as Brahman, Paramatma, and Bhagavan. These 3 divine aspects can be explained by the example of the sun, which also has 3 different aspects, namely the sunshine, the sun surface, and the sun planet itself. One who studies the sunshine only is the preliminary student. One who understands the sun's surface is further advanced, and one who can enter into the sun planet is the highest. Ordinary students who are satisfied by simply understanding the sunshine, its universal pervasiveness and the glaring effulgence of its impersonal nature, may be compared to those who can realize only the Brahman feature of the Absolute Truth. The student who has advanced still further can know the sun disk, which is compared to the knowledge of the Paramatma feature of the Absolute Truth. Remember, Paramatma is the super soul in everyone's heart. And the student who can enter into the heart of the sun planet is compared to those who realize the personal features of the Supreme Absolute Truth. Now, before we go on, going and being able to visit the sun planet also means being able to interact with the sun god. There's a person on that sun planet who is in charge of the sunshine and all the things that the sun does. So that's implied here. Therefore, the bhaktas, or the transcendentalists who have realized the Bhagavan feature of the Absolute Truth, are the topmost transcendentalists, although all students who are engaged in the study of the Absolute Truth are engaged in the same subject matter. The sunshine, the sun disk, and the inner affairs of the sun planet cannot be separated from one another, and yet the students of the three different phases are not in the same category. The Sanskrit word Bhagavan is explained by the great authority Parashara Muni, the father of Vyasadeva. The Supreme Personality who possesses all riches, all strength, all fame, all beauty, all knowledge, and all renunciation is called Bhagavan. There are many persons who are very rich, very powerful, very beautiful, very famous, very learned, and very much detached. But no one can claim that he possesses all riches, all strength, etc. entirely. Only Krishna can claim this because he is the Supreme Personality of Godhead. No living entity, including Brahma, Lord Shiva, or Narayan, can possess opulences as fully as Krishna. Therefore, it is concluded in the Brahma Samhita by Lord Brahma himself that Lord Krishna is the Supreme Personality of Godhead. No one is equal to or above him. He is the primeval Lord, or Bhagavan, known as Govinda, and he is the supreme cause of all causes. I say, you say. Ishvarak Paramak Krishna Satchidananda Vigraha Anadiradi Govinda Sarvakarna Karanam. There are many personalities possessing the qualities of Bhagavan, but Krishna is the supreme because none can excel him. He is the supreme person, and his body is eternal, full of knowledge and bliss. He is the primeval Lord Govinda and the cause of all causes. Brahma Samhita 5.1. In the Bhagavatam also there is a list of many incarnations of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. But Krishna is described as the original personality of Godhead, from whom many, many incarnations and personalities of Godhead expand. Ete chang sakala pungsa Krishnastu Bhagavan Swayam Indradi Vyakulang Lokam Mridayanti Yuge Yuge. All the lists of the incarnations of Godhead submitted herewith are either plenary expansions or parts of the plenary expansions of the Supreme Godhead. But Krishna is the Supreme Personality of Godhead himself. Bhagavatam 1.3.28. Therefore, Krishna is the original Supreme Personality of Godhead, the Absolute Truth, the source of both the Supersoul and the impersonal Brahman. In the presence of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Arjuna's lamentation for his kinsman is certainly unbecoming, and therefore Krishna expressed his surprise with the word kutah, where from? Such impurities were never expected from a person belonging to the civilized class of men known as Aryans. The word Aryan is applicable. Now here comes a little edit, important. The word Aryan is applicable to persons who know the spiritual values of life. And thus, which is missing, is there, Prabhupada said it, he typed it, but it was omitted. Who know the spiritual values of life and thus have a civilization based on spiritual realization. Persons who are led by the material conception of life do not know that the aim of life is realization of the Absolute Truth, Vishnu or Bhagavan, and they are captivated by the external features of the material world, and therefore they do not know what liberation is. Persons who have no knowledge of the liberation from material bondage are called non-Aryans. Although Arjuna was a Kshatriya, he was deviating from his prescribed duties by declining to fight. This act of cowardice is described as befitting the non-Aryans. Such deviation from duty does not help one in the progress of spiritual life, nor does it even give one the opportunity to become famous in this world. Lord Krishna did not approve of the so-called compassion of Arjuna for his kinsman. So, this Aryan, which is in the verse itself, Anarya, one who does not know the spiritual values of life. And without knowing the spiritual values of life. Now, values is a term that doesn't, everyone has values. You know, the most ignorant person, the demons, they all have values. But the problem is that they're values that are going to keep them bound up in birth and death and old age and disease, and do not lead out of this material world. So spiritual values are those which are explaining who is the source of everything. See, this is what we're enjoined to do in the very beginning of the Vedanta Sutra. Now, every word is important. Vedanta means the ultimate knowledge. And Vyasadeva, who's the author of all of these, he wrote the Mahabharata, he wrote the Srimad Bhagavatam, he wrote all the Puranas and so many other literatures. He's known as the literary incarnation of God. You know, it's practically superhuman, the amount of writing that he did. So, but then the second to last thing he wrote was the Vedanta Sutra. Vedanta means, very simply, Veda is knowledge, Anta is end. So the ultimate knowledge. Sutra are aphorisms. They're little statements. Like I'll give you a sample. The first one is, Atato Brahma Jigyasa. Very short. And what it means is now, therefore, implying now, therefore, that you're a human being, you should inquire into Brahman. Now, what is this Brahman? That's answered in the second sutra. Janmadyasya yataha. Janma means birth, as in Janmashtami. So, then the word Adi means etc. So what are the three things? There's birth, there's creation, sustenance, and destruction. This is everything goes through that. Even in us, these bodies obviously came into being, they're being sustained now for a while, then boom, they'll be finished. So, Janmadyasya yataha. Now yataha means from which. That from which everything has been created, by which everything is sustained, and by which everything will be destroyed. That's what we have to inquire into. And that's why this word, the sarva karana karanam, in the Brahma Samhita verse, this verse is really important. This Brahma Samhita was found by Lord Chaitanya in his South Indian tour. He saw it so important, he copied it. It's just one chapter in a long book. I've never seen any of the other chapters. It doesn't begin with this. Yes, it does. It begins with this verse that he quotes here, and then it goes on describing the spiritual world. And then in text 29, we get to the famous prayers of Brahma, which we hear every morning. Govindam Adipurusham Dhammaham Bhajami. Anyway, it's a very important book. Lord Chaitanya found it in his South Indian tour. He had it copied or copied it himself. And then he brought it back, and it became an essential book in the canon of Gaudiya Vaishnava. So this verse, Ishvara, the controller. We ourselves are Ishvaras, little Ishvaras. We have our little realm, our apartment, or especially our car. We're controlling. We hope it doesn't get out of control. So we're imperfect Ishvaras, but we are little Ishvaras. Even the dogs, the cats, they're little. Yeah. But who is the Parama Ishvara? Parameshvara. Ishvarak Parama, Krishna. Is Krishna. You see? And is he just a force? No, he has a form. Vigraha, which is Satchit Ananda. Contrast that with our own form. We all have forms, bodies. But his form is eternal, full of knowledge, unlimited knowledge, and always blissful, full of bliss, ever-increasing bliss. I dare say, I don't think anyone, I know that I don't have that kind of a body, right? I mean, body is temporary, full of ignorance, and often miserable. So, but his is Satchidananda Vigraha. Anadir. Doesn't have a beginning. The question of who gave birth to God, where he came from, doesn't arise. He was always there. That's the whole point. So, Anadir. But he is the Adi. Anadir Adi. He's the beginning of all, but he has no beginning. Govinda. He's not just a force or an official creator. He's Govinda. He releases the cows and the senses he's enjoying. Govinda. Sarva Karana Karanam. He's the cause of all causes. When you think about it, think of this building. It had certain causes that brought it into it. First it was an idea in some of it. You know, someone who wanted to build it, wanted to make a profit, I think before the war, before World War II, it dates back to then. So at one point it was a warehouse, at one point I think it was a movie theater, whatever. So, but it has a cause. And the cause is the idea, and then that comes into, okay, let's gather the funds, right? That's all part of it. Then you employ workers to build it. That's part of the cost. The building materials that go into it, just like we're redoing the front here. So you need someone with some skill, like our old friend Nimai. And he has a company doing it. And have you seen the doors? Have you gone in there? Very nice stained glass. So, how did those doors come about? Oh, because we've had a desire to replace those doors for some time, and we were able to get some funds. And so now the workers are the cause, the materials are the cause. There's a lot of cause. But who caused all those causes? Krishna. When you go back. Where did the body come from? What is this body? Earth, water, fire, everything. Those are all Krishna's energies. You see? We ourselves are Krishna's energies. Our intelligence is part of the energy. So it all goes back to God. You know, but we are separate entities, even though we're minute, and our perfection is relating to God in the way that is in tune with our dharma, what we are, and that is just like a hand is related to the whole body. I have this hand; it's in pretty good order. If I want to get something to drink, I go like this and spill it. No, if everything is right, you see. So I don't think, oh, hand. Come on, will you please pick up the... No, I don't have to think like that. It's just like, boom. It's automatic. So we have to be servants of Krishna like that. Is that we're meant to serve the whole. We're part of the whole, part and parcel of the whole, you see. And that is our constitutional position. That is our real dharma. But now for all these millions of births, we've been against that dharma. We've been acting against. That's why we can never be really happy. We can try to be happy for some time, but it's temporary. That's the main difference. No matter how much you succeed in your plans to enjoy in this life, you know that it's going to come and go. You know, I always like this verse is one of my favorite verses. One of Prahlad's prayers to Lord Nrsingadev. He says this is characterizing what material life is like, and what the remedy is. Yasmat priya priya yoga sayoga janma. Shokagnina sakalayona shuddhahyamana. Dukkaushadam tatapi dukkamatadhyaham bhuman brahmami vadame tabadasya yogam. In this verse, he analyzes material life perfectly in 3 lines, and in the last line he gives the remedy. So the first thing he says, yasmat, from this phenomenon, yasmat priya viyoga sayoga. So let's analyze that. Sanskrit, it's an incredible language. So priya means things that are dear to you. We all have things that are dear to us, beginning with this body, right? And then there's the health of the body. That's also very important to us, right? And then as we go through life, so many other things become dear, the family members, all these things. But if you look at someone's life and our own life, you see that there's always a threat that these things will be taken away, you know? Why did they, institute this law that you have to wear a seatbelt, right? Because the chances are you'll survive a crash if you have a crash, so you have better chance of living, because we know that people want to keep living; they don't want to die in a crash, right? So there's all kinds of things like that, medicine and things like that to ward off disease. So the things that are dear to you ultimately are taken from you. This body, your health, right? Your money, there's always scammers trying to take your money away, Now, why is Trump not so popular? Because inflation is coming, and inflation means that the money you have is worth less. You can't buy what Whereas in the eggs, we don't eat eggs, but it's a big thing. $9 for a dozen eggs? What is this? My life is ruined. So that's right, and inflation is something that makes you unhappy. So that's something that's apriya, is not dear, that is forced upon you. And analyze it. Life is a series of things that are dear to you, you see, that are making you happy, are threatened to be taken away or even taken away from you. Health is a big thing, right? So that's one thing that causes what does he call it? Shokagnina. The fire of lamentation has these 2 causes. Things that are dear are taken away quickly or slowly from you, or threatened to be taken away. That itself is a misery. or things that are abhorrent to you are forced upon you. An earthquake. Does anyone hanker for an earthquake? No. You hanker to not have an earthquake. But that's threatening. Or these fires, you know, things that come all of a sudden in LA. My God, you know. So things are coming. So the things that are dear are taken away, and the things that are abhorrent are forced on you. And both of these together cause shokagnina, the fire of lamentation. And not just in human life, also in lower life. Sakala yonishu, in all kinds of life. Dahyamana is a fire. The fire of lamentation is burning. So that's an analysis of the problem. Now let's try to cure the problem. So you want duk aushadam. You want a remedy for the misery, you see? And that's what we have. Oh, I don't worry about, you know, my house burning down. I've got fire insurance. I know that if I get sick, I get my health insurance, right? Insurance. Insurance is based on fear. Something horrible is going to happen. And all of this money that I've built up and everything, I won't be able to pass it on to my children. So I have life insurance. If I die, I'll get $100,000 to go to my children. Now I can live peacefully. You see? So this is the material world. So duk aushadam, but oftentimes the aushadi, the remedies for the dukkha causes more dukkha. Duk aushadam tadapi dukkha. I always give this example. Does anyone remember the Reader's Digest? The Reader's Digest magazine? I don't know if they still print it, but it's a smaller magazine. So anyway, I was in the laundromat. I was looking at the Reader's Digest. And there was an ad there, this is a few years ago, for antidepressant. You know, and there was the first page showed this lady who had obviously been depressed or something, but now she was cavorting in the field with her daughter, little daughter, you know, and everything was fine because she was taking this pill that they're advertising. Then you turn the page, and there's a whole spread of side effects that you have to. So this is literally duk aushadam tadapi dukkam, because aushadi means a remedy, medicine. So the solution to the problem causes more problems. That's the whole thing in material life. And all because of atadhyaham. This is like a little sutra, atadhyaham. Because I'm thinking of something I'm not. I'm identifying with the body. This is the root cause of all the material problems. Because we're identifying with this body, and the body is inherently limited, and you know. So then what? So that's three lines analyzing the material life, and our, you know, attempts to solve it, which just cause more misery. So what's the answer? So he's speaking to Bhuman Brahmame Vadameta Badasya Yoga. Oh, therefore, O Lord, great Lord, please instruct me in your Dasya Yoga, your Bhakti Yoga, the yoga of devotional service. So that's the analysis here. So let's see. So we went through this, and Krishna is speaking, and he's basically the anarya justam. It doesn't befit you because you're an arya, but this is an arya, and will not take you to heaven, and will not give you fame, and rather just the opposite. So these are the things that normally the Kshatriya is very concerned about. He said, you're going to ruin your life by doing this. So he goes on. Text 3. Klaibhyam masmagamakparta naita tvayupapadyate chudram vidya daubalyam chaktotishta parantapa. O son of Pritha, Pritha is Kunti, do not yield to this degrading impotence. It does not become you. Give up such petty weakness of heart and arise, O chastiser of the enemy. Purport. Arjuna was addressed as the son of Pritha, who happened to be the sister of Krishna's father, Vasudeva. Therefore, Arjuna had a blood relationship with Krishna. If the son of a Kshatriya declines to fight, he is a Kshatriya in name only. And if the son of a Brahman acts impiously, he is a Brahman in name only. Such Kshatriyas and Brahmins are unworthy sons of their fathers. Therefore, Krishna did not want Arjuna to become an unworthy son of a Kshatriya. Arjuna was the most intimate friend of Krishna, and Krishna was directly guiding him on the chariot. But in spite of all these credits, if Arjuna abandoned the battle, he would be committing an infamous act. Therefore, Krishna said that such an attitude in Arjuna did not fit his personality. Arjuna might argue that he would give up the battle on the grounds of his magnanimous attitude for the most respectable Bhishma and his relatives. But Krishna considered that sort of magnanimity mere weakness of heart. Such false magnanimity was not approved by any authority. Therefore, such magnanimity or so-called nonviolence should be given up by persons like Arjuna under the direct guidance of Krishna. So we have to remember in the back of our minds that Krishna is engineering this whole thing so that the Bhagavad Gita can be spoken, so that it will be written down, so that it will be eventually translated by Srila Prabhupada, and so that we can... This is one of the great treasures of this particular Kali Yuga, and we should take advantage of it. And Prabhupada makes the point, and this comes out, you know, when you a little experience at chanting Hare Krishna, and you can see there's something in this name, this mantra. If you really just concentrate and on the chanting, there's a power to it, because Krishna is present in his name, and you're actually getting purified by Krishna himself in the form of the sound vibration when you chant. And the same thing holds for this Bhagavad Gita. All of these, when Krishna began speaking at length here, he's actually present in his words. And Prabhupada took all this trouble of giving us the word, the original Devanagari, the transliteration, the word by words, and the personality. In no other Bhagavad Gita, practically, you'll find this. They may give you a transliteration. They may give you, but the word by words, never. You see, the word by words allow us to learn the verse and actually understand what's being said by the Sanskrit. You can learn a little Sanskrit. I didn't study Sanskrit except from Prabhupada's books here. But I was shown how to figure out the meter by a Sanskrit, one of our Sanskrit guys. So anyway, it's getting late. But we'll go on, and tomorrow we will actually begin, Krishna will begin his transcendental instruction to Arjuna. And a good portion of this second chapter is taken up with simply pounding home that basic idea, which is the foundation of everything that we do in Krishna consciousness, that you're not this body, you're a pure spirit soul, eternal. You're never born, you never die, but you're in this temporary body now. And it's because the human body, you can understand these things and become knowledgeable. And this is the only door out of this prison house, if you will, of material life, is getting this knowledge and then living by it, and cultivating a consciousness that will take us out of this world rather than to another body, another material body after death. So that's coming up, and it's a very important chapter. The contents of the Gita summarized. And basically, it focuses on the nature of the soul and the consciousness, and also how preliminary instruction on how the soul can become detached from the world and attached to Krishna and begin the path back to Godhead, the wonderful, auspicious path that Srila Prabhupada has made available by his efforts. Okay, we kind of run out of time. Did anyone have questions or comments? Good. So let's have a few little poems. Let's see. So here's one from the Krishna Karnamrita, near the very end. Krishna Karnamrita means a book that's nectar for Krishna's ears. Can you imagine writing a book and say, oh, this book is nectar for Krishna's ears? Pretty bold to say something like that, but this is Bilba Mandal Thakur. He was actually experiencing Krishna relishing the book as he wrote it. So near the end, Hare Krishna. Yes, you've come just in time for darshan. Very nice. So he said, Jaya 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 Deva 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 Tribhavana Mangala Divya Nama Deha Jaya 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 Deva Krishna Deva Shravana Mano Nayanama Tavatara. You know what it means? Oh, glory, 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 Lord, oh, glory unto Thee, who with Thy holy name bless all three worlds and set them free. Oh, glory, glory, glory unto Thee, O Krishna Dev, whose nectar floods our ears and eyes and hearts in endless waves. Hari Hari Bol. So, if anyone wants the Krishna Karnamrita, just write to me, Dravida108 at Gmail, and I'll send you a little translation that I put together. I'll explain how I did that next time we get together. Okay, all glories to Srila Prabhupada. Hari Hari Bol. Thank you for listening.